Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. Thank you so much for tuning in. Today I have for you a makeup tutorial. I know a few of you requested that I do more makeup tutorials, so I thought I would do another one. I recently reviewed the Victoria Beckham collection, and if you haven't seen that video I will link it on the screen now so that you can go and have a watch. But basically it has to be one of my most favourite discoveries in makeup for this year. I think her products are absolutely stunning, and although the price tag is pretty high for a makeup item and actually higher in price point than most of Estee Lauder products, I have to say it's totally worth it. I mean, the eyeshadows are amazing. For me, they were a real highlight out of the whole collection. The fact that they have no fallout is so impressive. I mean, they're very similar in texture to the Charlotte Tilbury eyeshadows. They blend a little bit less easily than the Charlotte Tilbury ones, but the amazing thing is they have absolutely no fallout. Charlotte Tilbury ones have very little fallout, but they still have a little bit, but these ones are just impressive. I've used very dark colors and they're just magnificent. So I really loved the collection, and I thought I would do another look with her eyeshadows, and it is this look that I have now. I'm actually not one for very colorful looks, and mostly I go for kind of blacks and browns, and that's usually what I'm into when it comes to makeup. But I recently purchased this palette which has two shadows, a nude and an electric blue, and although I thought I would get loads of wear out of the nude, I used it in my last tutorial that I did with reviewing her collection, and I really liked it. I thought I would never get any use out of the blue, but actually I've really been loving it. It's a very modern kind of blue. It's an electric blue, but it's very matte with a very kind of modern finish. And actually I think it's super versatile because it's a color that you can use as a pop, but if you blend it in with other colors or if you use it as a liner only, you can use it in daytime, nighttime. And I thought now that the festive season is coming up, I would do this look that I have on right now. I don't know how much the camera is picking it up, but I have like a pop of blue on the center of the eye, and then it's kind of a normal smoky eye. But I think it looks really cool, something a little bit different, a little bit of a different take on the smoky eye, and I've actually really been loving it. So if you want to find out how I got this look, please stay and watch this video. But before that, don't forget to hit the subscribe button if you already haven't. I upload twice a week and I would love to have you back on the channel. So I've got a little bit of moisturizer on and we're going to go straight in with primer. I'm using my favorite, the Professional, and I'm literally going to use this down my T-zone just to make sure that my makeup lasts a little bit longer. Because this is an evening look, obviously you want your makeup to stay put for quite a few hours, and primer is the best way to do that. For foundation, I'm going to be using my favorite two foundations of the moment, and that's the Fenty Beauty Foundation and the YSL Le Teint Touche Éclat Foundation. I'm using B40 in the YSL and number 280 in the Pro Filter Foundation. And I really like this foundation for evening because it really mattifies your skin, but it still makes it look like it's skin. It doesn't look completely kind of dull or very flat. But then I like to add a little bit of this one because it's a little bit lighter, and then it adds a little bit of luminosity and glow. But the other one kind of keeps it matte and it helps it to stay put the whole night. I'm going to first buff it out with this buffer brush from Zoeva. And the Fenty Beauty Foundation is a perfect colour match for my skin. And even though I've added the YSL Touche Éclat, it doesn't kind of make it too light. It still matches very nicely with the rest of my body. My neck is also a little bit lighter, but it kind of matches with my arms and stuff. So it's very nice. I'm applying a very thin layer of foundation with this brush just to kind of cover all over, but the Fenty Beauty Foundation has pretty good coverage, so I don't think I'm going to need to top up very much after this. And I like the Fenty Beauty Foundation because it has a yellow undertone, but it's not too yellow, so it kind of counteracts the yellowness in my skin. It makes me look a little bit more kind of peachy, but at the same time it's not like a completely different colour to my skin tone. I'm now going to go in with a damp beauty blender just to finish blending it out. I don't think I need much more coverage, but I'm going to just go in with a tad little bit of more foundation just underneath my eyes. And I'm going to take a slight little bit on my nose and here where I have a few blemishes. And then I'm just going to dot this all over my face so that it kind of removes the excess and finish blending, and it finishes blending out all the product. Once we finish blending everything out, I'm going to go in with corrector, and I'm using my Naked Skin Concealer. And I'm just going to put this where I have a little bit of kind of greyish, bluish darkness underneath my eyes. just to counteract this. I'm also going to take it on my nose or any areas where I have a little bit of pigmentation. This is just going to basically brighten those areas and kind of counteract that sort of greyish tint of the skin there. I'm going to take it well into my eye because that's where I have darkness as well, sort of in my lid in the inner corner. And once I've blended that out a little bit with fingers, I'm going to go in with my Clé de Peau concealer and this brush by Shuuemura. And I'm just going to take this down the sides of my nose because that'll help me contour. And then I'm going to go in and go over all the areas where I applied the corrector before. I'm trying to apply a very thin layer of this because it is a very high coverage concealer, so you don't need a lot of product. I'm also going to use this to kind of cover any blemishes. Okay, now I'm going to blend this out with fingers, just using a sort of patting motion, just to kind of warm up the product and help it mesh with the skin. At this stage, you don't need to blend it out fully, it's just to warm it up a little bit, because we're then going to go in with our beauty blender and just kind of finish blending everything out. I'm then going to go in with my NARS Radiant Creamy Concealer, and I'm just going to apply this underneath my eyes, any areas where I basically want to highlight. I'm going to apply this on the bridge of my nose, around this area where I corrected, center of my chin, and a little bit on the center of my forehead. And then again, I'm just going to go in with fingers and blend this out. I'm then going to go in with a damp beauty blender and just kind of pat it on to finish blending everything out. Next I'm going to go in with cream contour, and I'm using my favourite of the moment, which is the Charlotte Tilbury Contour Wand. I use the medium dark and I absolutely love this. You only need to squeeze a little bit of the product. I've already spoken about this product before, but you just put a little bit on the sponge, very little, and then you just use that to apply it on your face. It's a really beautiful kind of consistency. It's not too runny, but at the same time it's quite thin, so it blends out really easily and it looks really natural. I'm also going to take it down the sides of my nose, angling the sponge a little bit so that I get a thinner line. And I really love this product because it just, like I said, it just looks so natural. Blends out so easily, but at the same time it kind of still gives like a contoured look. I'm then going to use the brush that comes with that, and I'm using the wider side to blend this out, and again this brush blends out like a dream. It's actually quite similar to the Zoeva brush I was using earlier, but obviously this one's a little bit smaller. And then I'm using the other side, which is like a little bit angled, to just contour these small places like the nose and the chin. Then I'm going to go in with my beauty blender just to finish blending this out. As you can see, that's blended out to such a natural finish, but I'm now going to go in with my eraser eye from Maybelline just to accentuate this contour here a little bit. Applying a little bit on the high points and just underneath my cheek and above my jawline. And a little bit to the center of my chin, center of my nose. And then I'm just going to go in with my beauty blender to blend it out. As you can see, that's blended out to such a natural, beautiful finish. I'm now going to go in and start setting my makeup. And I'm going to take the Laura Mercier translucent powder, and I'm just going to pack this underneath my eyes because I like to bake this area a little bit, just to make sure that my concealer stays put. I'm also going to take this down the center of my nose, chin, underneath my cheekbones, just to kind of accentuate that contour. I'm now going to go in with this brush by Charlotte Tilbury, and I'm just going to take a slight bit more of powder and just dust it off. I don't like to bake for too long because then my skin goes very dry, and it sort of ends up looking very cakey. Now to set the rest of my face, I'm going to use the Universal Loose Powder by Chanel. And I like to use this one because it's the one that kind of keeps my contour to stay put. With other powders that are not so mattifying, I find that my contour ends up separating a little bit. So I'm just going to kind of press this onto the areas where I've contoured. And then I'm going to go in with the Imperlious Voile de Pearl by Terry. And I'm just going to use this to kind of set all over and just go over all the areas where I applied that Chanel powder as well, just to kind of brighten it a little bit. This powder is a little bit more brightening and not as mattifying, so it just adds a little bit of glow back into your skin. Moving on to eyes now, I'm going to start using the NARS primer, and this is really good to make your eyeshadow last longer, and because we're going to go for a very intense eye look, it's an absolute must to put on a little bit of primer. I'm just going to blend this out using fingers. I'm just going to take a slight bit of the Chanel powder I used earlier just to set that primer in there and help the eyeshadows smooth on better. Okay, now we're going to go on to eyes, and as you can see, I've run out of my post-it notes, so I had to put this body tape on, but we're going to use this eyeshadow palette, and I'm first going to go in with this nude shade. I'm going to take a fluffy brush, and I'm going to use this as a transition shade on my crease. And I'm trying to go quite high up on my crease, actually. And then I'm going to do the same on the other eye. And as you can see, this already really accentuates your crease, kind of opens up the eye, again gives it quite a lot of definition, but it's still very light and bright. It has like a nice peachy undertone to it, so I really love these shadows, and they're super finely milled. They last really, really long, don't budge, and they're very easy to blend, but at the same time, the most amazing thing is they hardly have any fallout. I mean, you can't really tell with this one because it's a very light shade, but I can guarantee that even the black one has very, very little fallout. So if you wanted to make this more of a day look, you could easily just leave your eyes like this. No more shadows required. This is beautiful to just kind of shape your eyes. And then I would just use the blue shadow as a liner. And I would just use this to kind of line my upper lash line and my lower lash line, add a pop of color, something really fresh, really young, and it would be perfect for daytime. But because we're going for an evening look, we're going to pack it on. We're going to do a little bit of a cut crease type situation. So I'm going to take a little bit of the NARS Radiant Creamy Concealer, and I'm going to put it on the back of my hand, and I'm going to take in this concealer brush, and I'm going to do like a half cut crease. So I'm going to go in, and you have to be really careful when you're doing this, but basically you want to create like an arch. I'm now going to go in and do the same on the other eye, and I'm just sort of focusing on the bit that's closest to the inner corner of my eye and just sort of going halfway. I'm going to go over this bit where I've applied concealer with a little bit of powder and a fluffy brush just to kind of set it in place and make sure the rest of the eyeshadows will glide on. And then I'm going to go in with a flat shadow brush, and I'm going to pack on this blue shade onto this brush. And I'm just going to pack this on the bit that sort of moves on the eyelid. I don't want to go too high up into the crease. So we just want to keep it underneath the crease. And I'm sort of patting this on as opposed to kind of blending it out, because you want kind of quite an intense payoff. And the reason why I did the sort of half cut crease is so that it looks slightly paler in the inside as opposed to the outside of the eye. And you want to keep the shape quite round. I don't really like it when they take such strong colours and sort of smear it out into like a kitten flick kind of a situation. I like to keep it kind of quite concentrated in the eye, looking quite round. As you can see, that is a super intense colour, and there's hardly any fallout on here, and this is completely white, which is what I love about these shadows. I'm now going to go in with my Charlotte Tilbury palette. This is the Instant Look palette, and I'm going to go in with this brown shade, which is like quite a cool toned kind of contouring brown. I'm going to go in with a smaller contour brush, and I'm just going to use this to kind of soften out this edge and blend it out a little. and also create a little bit more depth on the crease. I'm now going to do the same on the other eye, and we're literally going into the hollow of the crease there, just sort of blending out the edge, but you want to kind of keep it quite precise. That's why it's good to use small brushes with these kinds of looks, because it's quite graphic, so you don't want to kind of end up smudging your blue all over your eyes. I'm now going to go in with the Sophisticate palette, and I'm going to take this kind of medium brown. I'm trying to keep everything kind of very matte and quite modern looking. I'm going to take a little bit of this on the same brush I used earlier. This is kind of a reddish kind of brown, and I'm just going to use this to intensify my crease, especially on the outer corner. And then finally, to intensify the outer corner, I'm going to go in with a little bit of the black eyeshadow from the Victoria Beckham collection, and this is in Black Mirror. And I'm just going to take a little bit on the flat shadow brush and just apply it literally to the outer corner of my eye. And then I'm going to use my shadow brush that I used earlier, the fluffy one, just to blend this a little bit so that it doesn't look so harsh. I'm now going to go in with this flat brush, which is from Urban Decay, and I'm going to take a little bit of the highlight shade from the Fleur de Force Eyelure palette for your brows, and I'm just going to use this to highlight underneath my brow bone and a little bit into the inner corner of my eye. And then I'm going to take a little bit of my Champagne Pop highlighter and just pat this on top of that highlight I just applied. So just going to make your eyebrows pop a little bit. And then I'm going to take my blending brush that I used at first, and I'm just going to dust this out to just make sure everything's like nice and blended and looking natural. And finally, I'm going to go in with the nude shade again and just use this to sort of blend it out here a little bit more, just so that we don't have any harsh lines. And then because we've lost a little bit of intensity on the blue, I'm just going to go in with the blue shade again, and I'm just going to pack it on the sort of main part, just because we've lost a little bit of intensity with all the blending. And then once again, we're going to take that blending brush and just go over the edges to make sure it's nice and smooth. Okay, I'm now going to take these off. And taking this blending brush, I'm just going to kind of blend in the edges so that it doesn't look so harsh. You want it to look kind of nice and smooth. Okay, now I'm going to go into my lower lash line, and I'm just going to line that with this pencil brush, and I'm taking the nude shade, and I'm just going to take that all the way underneath. And I want to go quite low with this because I really want to smoke it out. And then I'm going to go with this liner brush from MAC. And it's an angled liner brush, and I'm going to dip it into the blue shade, and I'm just going to take that all the way along my lower lash line. And I sort of want to wing it out at the end. I don't want to connect it with the top. Okay, I'm now going to go in with this fluffy brush, and I'm going to take another little bit of the nude shade and just run it underneath my lash line, just to smooth everything out. I'm now going to take the black eye pencil from the Victoria Beckham collection. I really love this one because it's super, super intense and super dark. And I'm going to take this on my lower lash line, and also going to line my upper waterline. I'm going to tight line that to make the eyes really, really intense. I'm also going to put a little bit of this onto the actual lash line so that it kind of smudges out into the eyeshadow. and it looks really nice and blended. I'm now going to go in with my gel liner from Estee Lauder, and I'm going to take this little angled brush and I'm just going to line my upper lash line. I'm then going to go in with this liquid liner by Maybelline, and I'm just going to go over that line just to intensify the black a little bit, and I'm just going to wing it out a slight bit at the end, but nothing too dramatic. I'm now going to go in with the same brush I used for the liner, and I'm going to take a little bit of the black eyeshadow, and I'm just going to smoke out this line a little bit. Add a little bit of shine to it and just smoke it out a little bit so that it blends out with the rest of the eye. This eyeshadow has a little bit of sparkle, so it's going to make it glitter a little bit. And as you can see, I've winged it out a little bit, but nothing too dramatic. Okay, I'm now going to go in and curl my lashes. And mascara is super important for this look, just to kind of, you know, bring the lashes out. In any smoky eye look, you really want to bring the lashes out because that really completes the look. But I'm not going to go too crazy with mascara because I'm going to apply some false lashes. I'm going to use my favorite Too Faced Better Than Sex mascara. And I'm going to apply that to the top and bottom lashes. And this is a super volumizing mascara, but it's also really hydrating. And then I'm going to go in with my Maybelline Falsies Push-Up Drama. And I'm going to apply another coat on both the bottom and top lashes. I'm now going to go in and fill in my brows, and I'm using MAC Lingering. And basically I want them to look a little bit thicker just to frame my eyes a little bit better. But I'm going to follow the natural shape of my brows. So I'm just slightly filling them in with the pencil. And this you actually might think is quite a light colour for my brows, but I actually like to fill them in a little bit lighter than they actually are because otherwise they look too harsh. And what I do is then I go in with a little bit of powder if I need to darken it up a little bit. I'm just going to brush them through with a spoolie just to blend out that pencil. And I'm then going to go in with my EYELURE palette again, which is the brow palette, and I'm using the medium colour. And I'm going to go in with an angled brush, dip it into the two colours, and just go over the pencil to darken them up a little bit, but also to set the pencil and make sure they don't budge. Now I'm just going to go in with what's remaining in my concealer brush, and I'm just going to clean up a little bit just to make sure the eyebrows look really nice and defined. I've not applied any extra product, this is just what was left from before. And then I'm going to go in with my beauty blender and just kind of blend this out a little bit. To finish off brows, I'm going to go in with my brow gel from Anastasia, and I'm just going to brush them through just to make sure they look nice and natural and they stay in place. Moving on to bronzer now, I'm going to use my Java bronzer from my Anastasia contour palette. And I'm just going to use this to sort of warm up my face a little bit, just using it along my cheeks, a little bit on my forehead, just in the areas where the sun would naturally hit you, a little bit on the bridge of my nose and my chin. And without taking any more product, I'm just going to use a bigger brush to just sort of blend it out a little bit more on my cheeks. I'm now going to contour using my RODIAL contour powder, and I'm just going to go over the areas where I applied the cream contour earlier with this Charlotte Tilbury brush, and I'm just going to go into the hollows of my cheeks. And when you're contouring your cheeks, it's always good to kind of lift it a little bit and do it slightly above where the hollow actually is so that they look a little bit lifted. And I'm going to go into my jawline, and then I'm going to do the sides of my face and take it up into my forehead. You want to blend nicely into your ears and into your hairline so that there's no kind of weird patches. And then I'm going to take a little bit also underneath my jaw and just blend it down my neck. Then taking this fluffy brush, I'm going to use the same contour powder to just go down my nose and contour this a little bit. Just contouring a little bit on the tip to lift that bit a little bit. I'm now going to go in with a little bit of blusher, and I'm taking Charlotte Tilbury's Ecstasy, and I'm going to apply that onto the actual cheekbone. And to finish it off and add a little bit of pop and a little bit of glow, that bronzy glow that I think goes so well with the dark eyes, I'm going to add a little bit of NARS Orgasm. And to finish everything off, I'm going to add a little bit of highlighter just onto the high points of my cheeks. A little bit on top of my brow bone. And slightly down the center of my nose. Cupid's bow and onto my chin area. Moving on to lips now, I'm going to use the Victoria lip liner, and I'm also going to use Soar lip liner from MAC. I'm first going to go in with Soar, just to define my lip line a little bit. And then to bring it down and stop it from being so pink, I'm going to go in with the Victoria lip liner all over. I'm then going to go in with Tom Ford Blush Nude. I'm just going to take the Fenty Beauty Gloss, which I'm actually really starting to like, because if you apply very little, it's not sticky. And I'm just going to take that and put it on the center of my lips. And that's it. I'm going to spritz a little bit of setting spray just to make sure the makeup stays put. And I'm going to go and add some lashes, put my hair down so you can see the final look. Okay guys, well this is the final look. I've added some lashes and I've put my hair down, looking a bit more decent now. So I hope you liked it. I really like how it's turned out. I think it's a super nice look for the festive season that's coming up really soon. It's a bit of a modern take on a smoky eye. Like I said, if you wanted to do just like the nude eyeshadow to kind of enhance your crease and then use the blue as a liner, it would be perfect for daytime. And it's an eyeshadow that really stays put. As you can see, I've used the black one as a liner and it really kind of stays intense and put, so you can most definitely use it like that. But I think this is a really nice look for evening time, a really cool take on the smoky eye without it being so black, but at the same time it's not kind of so colourful that it's daunting. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye!